For our family trip, we flew from Sacramento down to Dallas and then all the way to San Sebastian, Spain, which is near the French border. The flight was around 14 hours total. Madrid International was extremely large, and we flew from Madrid to San Sebastian on a smaller Learjet. The immense size of the ceiling was just spectacular. The amount of engineering went into it is just incredible. Walking through the airport, we were surprised to see that we were basically in a mall, surrounded by many different products ranging from alcohol to beauty supplies. The prices are extremely high. This is the view from our apartment balcony. Across the bay, you can see on top of that mountain is a large statue of Jesus. This is Zorrillo Beach in San Sebastian. It was incredible to see how dense and populated the area was. Alright, so first cultural encounter, a normal toilet, and then got a sort of bidet. It doesn't make sense how you're supposed to use it. Here's the sink, and there's that, and then the toilet. To this day, I still don't understand what that is. This is a closer view up on the beach. Eventually, the fog rolled in the next day around noon. It was so dense we couldn't see the beach. We didn't let it stop us though. Here's us walking through the town. It was incredible to see how small and dense the city was, with new stores every couple of feet. The architecture was spectacular too. Jaywalking was an everyday part of life. City squares were beautiful and very architecturally complex. Here's the main river that runs through San Sebastian, up through the city. It was incredible to think how many hundreds of years of work went into this area. Spain, not being in a drought like California, had plenty of water to waste. Everything was so luscious and green, it was such a difference. This is a church that was near where my sister was living. Just the immense size and the fact that it was in the middle of the city just came out of nowhere. This right here is the post office. You would think it was some big historical landmark, and it's just a post office. The city being so dense, everything has to be small. Many people get around on motorbikes, as seen here with over 50 scooters in a row. Here's another random cathedral that you can see was architecturally designed to be right in the center of the street. There are two main bays in San Sebastian. This is the West Bay. We're staying in the Northeast Bay on Zorrillo Beach. This was just some random street performer we found.
Written by Calvin Russell. This is called Standing at the Crossroads. I'm standing at the crossroads. There are many roads to take. I'm standing here so silently, fear of a mistake. One road leads to freedom, one road leads to pain. Thank you. One road leads to paradise, but I swear.
There's another church that just happens to be in the middle of a city. Here's a closer up view. Look at the detail in the architecture. We don't have anything like that in Grass Valley. So I captured this shot just walking down the street. For some reason these hordes of children were migrating somewhere and I couldn't figure out where. They seemed to be in about 3rd grade, but I was unsure. They must be in a school field trip or something, but I couldn't figure it out. Here's a different shot of the river when the tide is low. Here's a creepy abandoned carousel I found that was still playing music. The city was very kid-friendly and had lots of parks and activities for young children to do. Of all places, here's a palm tree in the middle of Spain. Here's us walking to a bigger church that is right under the giant statue of Jesus that dominates the entire town. That green flashing sign right there is a pharmacy. Pharmacies in Spain are kind of like Starbucks. There's one on every block and they're all unique. Here's a bigger shot of the second side of the bay. Here's someone going to go fishing, just an everyday part of life. This is looking across over to the Atlantic. It just seemed to go on forever. Here's our walk up to the statue of Jesus. We had to walk through a giant forest uphill. It reminded me of the Northwest coast, much like Seattle. Here's us on top of the bay, a full view of everything, but not yet to Jesus. There's the statue of Jesus as we started walking up to it, and here is a small cathedral that is probably over 200 years old. You can see it is barred off from the public, probably for religious reasons. There's Jesus himself. The statue was probably about 20 meters tall. Here's another shot of the bay from the base of Jesus. Look how compacted and condensed the entire city is. Here's us walking down the mountain. It was even more beautiful going down than it was going up. Here we are at the base of the mountain where we started our adventure. The immense size of everything was just incredible, considering this was over 200 years old. Here's another shot of a city street, and down there you can see another pharmacia. The next day we heard the news about the Paris attacks. Even though we were over 1,000 miles away at the time, they were different than when we were at home in America. They were closer to us. They were more of a reality. We were planning on crossing the border that day and going to a small village to have lunch, but we decided to cancel due to safety concerns and also to be respectful to the French citizens, as the entire country was in mourning that day. Living in the city, pigeons are a part of everyday life. You're walking down the street and all of a sudden there's a flock of 20 of them right there. They're as common as ants and they're fatter than rats. They're so fat most of the time they just waddle around and walk instead of fly. You'd just be walking and then oh, you almost stepped on one right there. Whenever you're at a restaurant and you order water, they'll give it to you in a bottle instead of from the tap. We're eating at a local restaurant and as you can see there's plenty of fresh food going around. Being on the coast, sea life is an everyday part of life, and vegetable growing is common. I ordered a bolognese pizza, which is a very tart meat sauce. Pizza was very, very thin. As you can see, completely different than our pizza. Public transport is an everyday part of life too. Here we are walking down the boardwalk. If you look closely on the hilltop, you can see Jesus. This area was absolutely stunning at night. On the other side of the beach there, at the farthest collection of buildings on the left, is where we stayed. This square building here is the local cinema. We never went inside, but it was gorgeous. Even though it was something like 60 degrees, people were still surfing in their wetsuits. This is the view from my sister's apartment. She was located right in the middle of the city. We were going out to lunch, so we stopped by to pick her up. On the other side of the bay is where we ate lunch, on the very top of the mountain. It was incredible to see the entire landscape. Everything was so small, while large at the same time. On the mountain as well was a little local carnival. We decided to visit it. It was not a very expensive carnival, but it seemed very unique to the culture. There were some stereotypical carnival events, though. The next morning, I went and got some bread, cheese, and meat, which was an average day of shopping. There's some more pigeons I found. Every day on one of the local beaches, a man comes and makes art in the sand. This piece was dedicated to the French people, as this was 2 days after the Paris attacks. It was all about love. We decided to go to the aquarium in the final days of our trip. It's along the same mountainside as Jesus. The sea played a very large part in their history. Here's a scale model of the entire bay back in the day. You can see the buildings are still there, the ones that we just walked by. Here's some old footage that was playing in the museum. And here I am, standing inside of the whale skeleton. It's crazy to see how big these things actually are. With our days in Spain limited, we decided to go visit the Guggenheim in Bilbao. It's about an hour's bus ride away. Upon entering Bilbao, it was a shock to see how large everything was. San Sebastian is a relatively small city, and Bilbao one of the largest. The landscape was gorgeous. There's the Guggenheim. It was very shiny and chrome. It seemed to dwarf everything nearby, even the skyscrapers. The architecture was very intricate. It was strange to be in an area that was so open, after being in a city for nearly 10 days that was smaller than most areas in Grass Valley. Here's some local art displayed in front of the Guggenheim. Unfortunately, I was told that recording was not allowed in the Guggenheim. I was able to capture some videos while I was there though. Most of the art there was modern and abstract, so I didn't enjoy it much. This piece in general didn't make any sense to us. The one thing that really stood out about the Guggenheim though, were these giant titanium walls. When you hit them, they made very interesting sounds. Overall, however, the Guggenheim was a huge disappointment. Here's some more groups of children going who knows where. In Spain, the children are taught to think of everyone as a whole instead of the individual, unlike American children. This is more of a communist ideology instead of a capitalist ideology. The day before we left, the person we were renting the apartment from came over. She does not speak much English, so we both used translators back and forth. It was funny to see how technology has influenced culture. Instead of us having to fumble our way through the sentences and try to come up with a common ground, we just use technology and bypass that middleman entirely.
Sé que hay algún problema porque el vecino de abajo se ha quejado.
I know there is a problem because the downstairs neighbor has complained.
Oh, sí, sí.
Bien.
Oh, okay. Sí.
Sí. Ay, sí. Fish de barrio.
Oh, okay.
No problemo for feminine.
No problema por ti, no.
The apartment has been wonderful. You have been wonderful. Oh, come on. Hold on. We have loved our stay here, and
The night before our flight, we decided to go to a local cider house. The cider house produces its own cider. It also has its own restaurant. The owner of this restaurant was a Basque local who was very famous for all the competitions he had won. It felt very rustic and antique. That giant casket on the wall is a 2 million liter barrel. It's been family owned and run for over 60 years. This is one of the owners teaching us how to get cider. The technique aerates the cider, which makes it taste better. After dinner, my mom decided to take shots with one of the owners. He said this alcohol was too strong for her. She decided to prove him wrong.
You should go clean ching ching with him.
Chin chin? Yeah.
Go ching ching.
Okay.
See, see.
All right.
Ching ching.
Chin chin. All at once?
Todos, todos.
Solo.
The owner was also a local champion for over 20 years, mainly competing in the wood shop. He competed in various other local events as well. He now competes in the ox pull, where they train ox to pull giant blocks of stone for over 30 meters. He was so proud, he even showed us the oxen. We had to get up extremely early the next morning to catch our connecting flight. We got to the airport so early that it wasn't even open yet. We had to fly from San Sebastian to Madrid, Madrid to Chicago, Chicago to Dallas, and then to Sacramento. I ended up going to Seattle for our honor band competition. Overall, our trip was incredible, and I hope I get the chance to do it again.
That's very nice.
Snap in half.